Hey, this is Phil from ProvingGrounds. I wanted to give you a quick 5-minute introduction to the Snatch, which has a ton of great benefits, including speed, power, and mobility. But it's really complicated. So here's a quick 5-minute introduction to the things you need to know on day one of doing the Snatch. Hope you like it.
Let's start with the end in mind. Here's a full squat snatch from the floor. Let's check that out one more time. Alright, let's get to it. The first thing we need to do is establish our hand position on the bar. To do this, bend over and allow the bar to sit in your hip crease. Stretch your arms out as wide as you can, and then stand up with your arms extended, shoulders back. In this position, you should be able to bring your knees up without having to change the position of the bar. Stand up nice and tall, chest out, shoulders back. This is our starting position for today's drills. Next up, let's talk about the hook grip. To have a stronger grip on the bar, we need to grab our thumb with our pointer and middle finger. The hook grip is going to help us keep control of the bar throughout the lift. Alright, it's time to move. The first step in the progression are strict high pulls. Important here is that you keep your elbows nice and high, and don't let your wrists come above your elbows. Once you're comfortable with that, let's add the hips and do some high pulls. But first, let's break down this dip position. To get here, I want you to push your knees out, making sure that your chest stays up. From there, think about jumping, thereby opening your ankles, knees, and hips. This is called the triple extension. Take your time with this drill. Making sure you really know how to open the hips is critical to having a strong snatch. Once you're comfortable with that, we can turn over the elbows and do a muscle snatch. Everything we talked about before still applies. We jump, high elbows, turn over. Make sure that the bar stays in nice and close to your body throughout the movement. This is where high elbows is really important. Let's talk about this overhead position. The elbow should be rotated down and pointing towards the ground, rather than pointing behind you. This external rotation in the shoulder is critical for supporting heavy weights overhead. You'll also need to play around with your balance in the overhead position. It might feel like the bar is a little bit behind you, when in fact it's right over your center mass. Next, we can move on to power snatches. Everything we discussed earlier for the muscle snatch still applies, except now we're going to re-bend our knees to catch. Let's talk real quick about the third pull. The third pull is everything that happens after we fully open the hips, and it's concerned with pulling yourself under the weight rather than pulling the weight up. Here we can see how it all comes together. From the dip, we jump, high elbows, pull under. Keep drilling this exercise, increasing your depth in your catch every time. Keep going lower and lower until you manage a squat snatch. All the principles of a normal squat apply here. Weight should be in your heels, knees should be out, and your chest should be up. Finding your balance in the bottom of an overhead squat can be a challenge if it's your first time. In order to get the bar over your center mass, it might actually feel like it's a little bit behind you. That's okay. If you're comfortable with all that, we can gradually start moving down to the floor. Next up is a hang snatch. We get to the dip position by pushing our knees out. From there, we get to the hang by pushing the hips back. In the hang position, your hamstrings should be loaded like a bow with your shoulders slightly in front of the bar. From the hang position, we need to get back to the dip where we started before. Do this by lifting your chest and using your lats to keep the bar close to your body. When you hit the dip position, your hips should still be closed and your chest should be nice and tall. From there, everything we talked about before applies. Just please do a better job of keeping the bar close than I did. Once you're comfortable with a hang snatch, we can move down to the floor. Push your knees out to come to the dip, your hips back to come to the hang, and then bend your knees until the bar is at about mid-shin. This is the starting position for the snatch. Thighs are about parallel to the ground, lower back is tight and engaged, and shoulders are slightly in front of the bar. To get to the hang, we push our knees back, making sure that our hips and our shoulders rise together. To get to the dip position, we lift our chest, and from there we jump, high elbows, pull under. And there it is. That's everything you need to know on day one of doing the snatch. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope these progressions helped you out. Feel free to drop us a comment or a question and we'll make sure to get back to you. If you like the video, make sure you subscribe and check out ProvingGrounds on Instagram for more great content to help you become a better athlete.
Spread your wings and fly, go!